and welcome to another video with me, Caroline, here at Movement Style. In this video we're going to look at Pilates Waist Twists, so involving Supine Pilates Twist and then the shoulder bridge, Pilates shoulder bridge with a hip dip in which the waist twists, so we use the core strength to bring the pelvis and the spine back into alignment. And then also we'll look at the actual waist twist exercise. We're in the double knee float or the double knee fold, and we take a mini twist to one side, hold, come back to the center, mini twist to the other side, hold, and come back to the center. And these exercises, all of them, really work on training the obliques. So the very strong, thick muscles on the sides of the waist that bring us this way and this way through the waist. Let's come down onto the mat. We're going to begin with just a little bit of mobilization to help us get flowing, to help us get started. And before we do that, if you would like to use any equipment, a Pilates ball might be helpful, but you can always work without a Pilates ball if you haven't got one. And also you might just use a cushion or a blanket or something, a small pad to put underneath the back of the head once we're in the supine exercises. So having said that, let's just roll ourselves down through the spine, coming onto the mat, seeing if we can create lots of space through the spine as we roll through onto the floor. You can always just allow the back of the head to be a little bit supported so that you can really release and lengthen through the back of the neck. Let's slide the legs away from us so that the legs are in line with the hip joints, sitting bones and heels in line with one another. And we're going to breathe in and let the arms flow up and back and behind us, seeing if you can let the muscles around your rib cage release so that the spine and the back of the rib cage can stay in contact with the mat. The small of the back quite low, tailbone tucking under, and your sitting bones moving in the direction of your heels. So the spine really gets a good stretch here. And then as you're ready, on the exhalation, hugging your right leg in and towards you, try to keep the left leg close to the floor. So there's a tendency for the lower leg to lift up. So let's keep it low. And then once again, as you're ready, breathing in, sliding your right leg away from you. Lots of reach into the arms, lengthening through your whole spine, including the back of the neck. And then as you're ready, on the exhalation, bringing your left leg in and towards you, letting your tailbone stay in contact with the mat. And this time your right leg stays low to the floor. So working in a way that's comfortable. The arms don't have to go all the way back. If it feels too strong for your shoulder joints, just take them back part way. If the leg doesn't come in really close to the front of the body, again, just bring it to the point where it feels all right, where your other leg can stay relaxed, relaxing through your spine. And then once again, breathing in, long reach into the leg, into the arms. And once again, exhalation, comfortable folding of the leg forwards and breathing in again, long reach. Just checking in again, back of the rib cage stays in contact with the mat. Exhalation, right leg comes towards you. Inhalation, reaching through. Check your neck stays long and released. Exhalation, leg comes in last time. We're going to let the lower leg stay on the floor, very close to the floor. Breathing in, great big stretch. And then as you're ready, let's breathe out and release the arms back to the sides. So from here, we're going to let the knees bend and bringing the soles of the feet in contact with the mat. And let's align the body ready for the Pilates practice. So that's going to involve setting up our neutral spine position. So we can always bring the insteps together and then just pick the toes up, let the toes swivel outwards whilst we keep the heels together, let the toes come to the mat and draw the heels in line with the toes. And then let's lift the hips up, bringing the pelvis back towards the mat, balancing the weight out right side, left side through the pelvis. And then as you're ready, let's lift the rib cage away from the mat, lengthen the waist out of the hips, bringing the ribs back towards the mat, balancing the weight out right side, left side, through the shoulders and through the rib cage. And then as well, let's pass the hands into the back of the head, supporting the head, letting the neck lengthen from between the shoulder blades all the way through to the crown of the head, and just resting the head on the mat beneath you or any little bit of support to really be able to keep the neck lengthened. So sometimes people working like that with the neck overarched, not great. So Here then, we're just going to, with our exhalations, let the weight of the spine soften into the mat beneath us, just really an easing of the weight of the spine into the mat beneath us. And then once again, as you're ready, with an inhalation, let your spine come into the neutral spine position, and that's going to involve the base of the tailbone directed to between your heels. It's as if you've got a little spotlight on the tailbone shining through to between the heels. The crests of the hip bones, again, as if they were like headlights, just shining straight up onto the ceiling. A little bit of space between the spine and the floor at the back of the waist. Spine through the back of the ribcage in contact with the mat. Breastbone lengthening away from the face. Spine beneath the breastbone lengthening up towards the crown of the head, but the spine in the ribcage is in contact with the mat. And then that fist distance between the chin and the chest. Back of the neck long and released. And the front of the chin level to the ceiling. And just through 2 or 3 breaths, thinking about relaxing your spine, and then coming back into your neutral spine position, letting the legs be relaxed at the hip joints, the gluteal muscles relaxed as you're doing this. So you're finding the neutral spine position from out of your core muscles. Base of the tailbone directs to between the heels, crest of the hip bones, headlights to the ceiling, back of the waist, a little bit of space between the spine and the floor, spine through the back of the ribcage in contact with the mat, fist distance between the chin and the chest, front of the chin level to the ceiling above us. And then we're going to focus a little bit on our breathing and getting the core strength to pull in around the spine nice and efficiently. So we will be using that core strength quite integrally in all the exercises that we're going to be working. So let's think about the breathing, and we could try this technique that we begin to focus on the exhalation beginning at the tip of the nose. So you're just breathing out from the top of the breath through the nostrils, and then consciously breathing out from the back of the mouth, and then consciously breathing out through the throat, consciously breathing out from the upper chest, then the mid chest, then the depth of the chest. And just with the inhalations, allowing them to dive into the depth of the chest, just as a natural response to that extended exhalation. So again, beginning the exhalation at the top of the breath from the nostrils, and then just following the exhalation back of the mouth, throat, upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest. And inhalation just diving into the body as a natural response to that extended exhalation. And then gradually, with this extended exhalation, you find that your exhalation is quite long really, and there's lots of space inside the chest for the new breath. And we just begin to, with the inhalations, think about the breath as it arrives in the chest, broadening out behind the collarbones, towards the shoulder joints, back towards the shoulder blades, broadening out away from the breastbone, into the ribs beneath the shoulder joints, and back into the space between the shoulder blades and the back of the ribcage. And in the floating ribs, which divide at the base of the breastbone, breathing into the sides and back of the floating ribs. And then once again with the exhalation, beginning the breath at the top of the breath from the nostrils, back of the mouth, throat, upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest. So inhalation, just let it dive in, broadening, widening, drawing back, upper chest, mid-chest, depth of chest, and breathing out long and strong from the top of the breath. And what gradually begins to happen with this long exhalation is that we begin to feel the muscles around the ribcage tapering in towards the spine, right at the base of the ribcage there. We might be able to as well feel the breastbone and the spine moving towards each other. So just see if you can really focus on those exhalations with that strength around the ribcage. And this is part of the core strength in the ribcage. And then gradually thinking about how your waist is responding to this deep and wide breath and strong extended exhalation. You may be able to feel from deep within your waist that the muscles around the waist are naturally responding to the breath, or it might be that it's helpful just to pop the hands onto the waist. And so we can just pop the thumbs onto the back of the waist, and then the web, this part here, onto the sides of the waist, and the index fingers onto the front of the waist. And with the inhalation, if the breath is really moving deep and wide, you should feel that beneath the thumbs, the waist widens outwards towards the left side, towards the right. And that also into the webs, the waist widens right and left. And beneath the fingers, this is the quite interesting part, that the abdomen separates. Again, it moves right and left. It doesn't move up and forward. It moves out. And on the exhalation, as you get this long breath from the top of the breath, nostrils, back of the mouth, throat, etc., you might just be able to feel as well how beneath your thumbs, the waist muscles pull in like a curtain, pulling in towards your spine. In a sense, really begin to bolt that strength in towards your spine. Sides of the waist pull in beneath the webs of the hands, and again, really cinch that strength in towards your spine in the center depth of the waist. And beneath the index fingers as well, the abdominal wall pulls across like a curtain, like a great big stage curtain, pulling in towards the center of the abdomen, pulling across towards the center of the abdomen. Now the waist as a whole does narrow and cinch in towards the spine, but the action is very much in and across, in and across. And so we can imagine here, perhaps as we feel the waist muscles engaging in towards our spine, that we've got a really wide, really tight, elasticated belt on the waist. It's very strong, cinching us in. And even though the belts are really strong, cinching us in, we're going to draw the waist away from it at the back, at the sides and the front, so that we could run our fingers around between our waist and the belt all the way from the back to the front. Now, as all of this is happening, just check that you're staying in the deep abdominal core muscles. The legs shouldn't be working at the hip joints. That's the hip flexors. They're not part of the core strength. And also the gluteal muscles shouldn't be working, again, they're not part of the core strength, and they're the gluteal muscles. So you're just trying to get this really strong strength around your waist that is distinct and not part of the leg and hip strength. Yeah. So then, as we're ready, when we've got the belt fastened, there's a good chance that our spine has pulled back into the neutral spine we were already practicing. So tailbone directed to between the heels, crown of the head lengthening in the opposite direction, crests of the hip bones and pubic bone pretty much level, headlights towards the ceiling, space at the back of the waist, breastbone lengthening away from the face, spine beneath it up towards the crown, this distance between the chin and the chest. So let's just engage a little bit in the lower abdomen. We can create this pelvic diamond, thumbs coming together, index fingers coming together, thumbs on the navel, index fingers towards the pubic bone, heels of the hands on the crests of the hip bones. And then we aim to depress the lower abdominal muscles close to the crests of the hip bones, drawing them down and back towards the back of the pelvis. So as you're breathing out, pulling down through the deepest layer, transversus abdominis, the next layer up, internal obliques, next layer up, external obliques, and then drawing down and back through the center, pulling the lower abdomen away from the thumbs and the index fingers. So your lower abdomen should be nice and strong, and just checking again that you're still relaxed in the hip joints and the gluteal muscles. And then let's just think about between the tailbone and the pubic bone that we've got an imaginary little zip, and we're going to just zip the tailbone up towards the pubic bone and still let the legs and the gluteal muscles stay relaxed. So deep zipping up, tailbone to pubic bone, lower abdominal pelvic diamond strength, and also your imaginary belt fastened, ribs tapering into the spine, breastbone and spine moving towards each other. So now we've got lots and lots of core strength around the spine, from around the rib cage right down towards the tailbone. And let's open the arms out towards the sides, and thinking in terms of your arms really extending from the collarbone into the biceps region, into the fingertips. So often we're trying to get the arms quite low in line with your shoulder joints, and you may feel a little bit of a stretch in your biceps. Now from here, the idea is to use some of this strength that we just put in around the waist to begin to flow the spine into the supine Pilates twist action. And so let's say we're going to twist towards the right side first, and you need to really squeeze in across the muscles in the back of your waist, cut in the muscles at the side of the waist with your strength, and then just coming into a twist. Legs by no means need to reach the floor. They work, we're trying to feel work in the abdomen rather than stretch. And then we can breathe in here, and as we're ready to come back, trying to really squeeze the sides of the waist in very firmly. Use the left side of the waist from beneath to bring you into the center. Pelvic diamond, working very deeply and very evenly out to the right side and the left side in the lower abdomen. So then the legs stay relaxed, gluteal muscles stay relaxed, and then this time it's going to be squeezing very firmly into the left side of the waist, breathing out and into the back of the left side of the waist, flowing into a twist here, letting your legs and hips stay relaxed, and really steering the action of the twist from your core muscles. So we breathe in the twist, and then once again as you're really coming back to the center, so back of your waist working nice and firmly on the right side of the waist, and really centering up that pelvic diamond strength. So the arms can stay wide all the time. I just tend to bring them in to try and indicate what we're doing in the waist. So legs relaxed, hip joints relaxed. As you breathe out, really activate the right side of your waist and the back of the right side of the waist. So we've got all these freely movable joints in the waist, and where we have freely movable joints, we have muscles to coordinate them. And so we're trying to get into these, you know, often very neglected core strength muscles in terms of coordinating the position of our spine. So just trying to get that really activated. So now as you're ready, with your next exhalation, coming back to the center, squeezing into the sides of the waist, especially the left side, back of the left waist, and really a broad and wide scoop and hollow, work really firmly wide into the lower abdomen there. And then again, we breathe in here. And this time it's the left side of the waist, back of the left waist, coming into the twist. And just as you're working into the twist, thinking about that your collarbones are still open, that your arms are relaxed, that the shoulder blades are relaxed against the back of the rib cage. Neck released, long and open. So again, breathing in here, once again as you're ready, squeezing into the right side of the waist, back of the right waist, and very firm, broad scoop and hollow in the lower abdomen. So if that feels as though it's working quite well, you might, if you're doing this video for the first time, need to practice with, you know, just the simple lower body twist whilst you get used to it. But if you've been practicing for a few times and you feel the coordination and strength is there in the waist and the lower abdomen for this twist, how about adding in a rotational action through the head and neck in the opposite direction? So legs and pelvis and spine in the lower body twisting towards the right, head and neck twisting towards the left, and rotating the arm from the shoulder joint, reaching through towards your fingertips. And then we just breathe in there, and breathing out using the core strength in the lower body to come back to the center, head and neck draw through to the center, and your left arm and palm come up to the ceiling again. And then we breathe in the center, and then again on the exhalation, activating the left waist, steer the lower spine towards the left side, hips follow, legs follow, head and neck pivoting towards the right side, right arm rotating at the shoulder joint, palm of the hand coming to the floor, reaching into the fingertips, and we breathe in there. And then once again, as you're ready, keeping the effort in the waist, really deep into the waist, back of the waist, right side of the waist, lower abdomen, so the neck is flowing freely and that there's no sense of pushing the head into the floor for additional strength to return from the twist, which can often happen. Really, literally, keep your strength centered close to the spine. So we're going to just give this another go. So exhalation, flowing the spine towards the right in the lower body, spiraling the spine towards the left in the upper body, aiming to keep lots of length through the back of the neck. So there should still be that fist distance between the chin and the chest. And usually you feel quite a nice stretch through the outside of the neck when you have the neck well aligned. So once you can test it with the fist coming into between the breastbone and the chin, and then you feel that stretch in the neck, and then you just look for that stretch in the neck each time in the future, and that will generally tell you that you've got your upper spiral nice and accurate. So once again, off we go, twisting the lower spine towards the left, really using the core strength, steering from the waist, and head and neck spiral in the opposite direction. Arm rotates and the palm of the hand comes to the floor. Let's breathe in here. And then once again, as you're already coming back to the center, so really squeeze in around the base of the rib cage, back of the waist, pelvic diamond, keep the head and neck nice and free all the way through to the center. And once again, just relaxing in the center as you breathe in. So well done. So that's our supine Pilates twist, and let's just hug the legs in and towards us and circle the hips on the mat. Just release and relax the lower back. And then from here, we're going to think about the shoulder bridge, and it may or may not be helpful at this stage to have something underneath the back of the head. So some people still find a little light something under the back of the head helpful, and other people, like me for example, really don't. So just decide, for yourself what feels best. And going to roll into the shoulder bridge, and with the shoulder bridge, a lot of the aim is to feel that your core strength wraps around your spine and that each individual vertebra is supported away from the floor using your core muscles. Now we need some gluteal strength, of course, to support the pelvis, and we can in a way gain that by pressing the heels down into the floor, and you'll feel that a little bit activate your gluteal muscles. And then again on the way back down, really roll through the spine, lots of space. Take up a neutral spine position at the base of the position. Now you may find it helpful if you have a Pilates ball to pop it into between the knees. And there's no doubt about it that the shoulder bridge flows an awful lot better for us when we keep the hips and the thighs aligned. Now, we don't always have a Pilates ball, of course not. So instead, the technique that I've developed to help keep my legs in line is to think about my body like this: crown, sacrum, tailbone, and then after the tailbone, to the right side and the left side of the tailbone, think in terms of lengthening through the inside leg, inside hip joint, inside knee, inside thigh, inside knee. So inside hip, inside thigh to inside knee. And just keeping the insides of the thigh bones tracking the base of the spine, or the spine in general. And then it's a lot easier to flow up. When we lift up into the shoulder bridge and the knees immediately go wide like that, the reason is likely because we've lifted with primarily the gluteal muscles, the bottom, rather than that we have gone deep into our bodies, gone for that centered strength so close to the spine. And the spine is so deep into the center of the body that although we can feel the little iceberg, the tip of the iceberg part of the spine at the back with our fingers, we're trying to really encase and enclose the depth of the spine deep within the waist with the core strength muscles wrapping around. We thought about the belt earlier and the muscles bolting in and across in the back of the waist, cutting in at the sides with their strength, pulling across like a curtain at the front, ribs tapering in, breastbone and spine moving together, this lengthening from the tailbone to the knees, the deep zipping up tailbone to pubic bone engaged. And so all of these ideas help us to structure the spine, and we're primarily lifting with the core strength. So that's basically the explanation and the demonstration, and you may have been practicing away with me there, but let's just come up into the shoulder bridge a couple of times really with very precise technique. And then what I was talking about before is that we'll let, once we're up here, one hip sink down by relaxing the core strength on that side, and then regroup the core strength to bring the pelvis level again. Relax the core strength on the other side, so hips dip down, and then regroup the core strength into the back of the waist, side of the waist across at the front to bring the pelvis back, spine aligned and rolling back down. So that's where we're heading. So let's give ourselves a practice or two in the shoulder bridge, and then we'll come into those hip dips. So lots of length through the spine, tailbone to crown, deep zipping up, tailbone to pubic bone, pelvic diamond, belt fastened, legs relaxed at the hip joints, gluteal muscles relaxed. And as you're ready, begin to just imagine that you've got a piece of string picking the tailbone up first. And as the tailbone lifts up, the small of the back just touches into the mat for a moment.
And then your broad and wide scoop and hollow helps you to lift the sacrum that wedges into the pelvis. You begin to very quickly get the strength to pull into the back of the waist towards the sacrum, towards the spine. Heels begin to press into the mat. Keep actively lengthening into the crown of the head. Keep fastening the belt around the waist, closer and closer to the ribcage tapering into the spine, breastbone and spine moving towards each other, breathing in the bridge. And then as you're ready, breathing out, you can always sink the breastbone towards your spine and lengthen through vertebra by vertebra from the crown of the head, through the spine and the ribcage. Lengthen from the base of the ribs towards the sacrum. Still on your exhalation, tailbone rolls into the mat, breathing in to reset your neutral spine, pelvic diamond really wide, hollowing deep, belt fastening. Lengthen the spine within the core strength. And once again, as you're ready, just picking the tailbone up. So imagine the tailbone lifting up towards the pubic bone. And then your broad and wide, especially wide, helps you to lift in the lower back. Back of the waist, belt comes in, pushing into your heels. Keep lengthening the spine, tailbone to crown. If you're not using the Pilates ball, really lengthen your inside hip, inside thigh, inside knee, to keep you in alignment. So once again, rolling back down, lengthening the spine towards the tailbone all the way. Breastbone sinks towards the spine, flowing through vertebra by vertebra, all the way to the tailbone. As you breathe in, reset your neutral spine, feel the core strength wrap around your spine, lower abdomen, waist, rib cage. So let's next time, as we flow up into the bridge, keep all of those points of technique in mind. Keep the rib cage depressed, breastbone and spine moving towards each other. Let's, as we're ready, on an exhalation, relax the core strength on the right side of the body, right hip sinks down, and then we quickly regroup the core strength into the back of the waist, sides of the waist, pelvic diamond really strong, broad and wide into the crests of the hip bones. As you're ready, breathing out to release the core strength on the left side, hip dips down, and then once again, as you're ready, exhalation to really regroup that core strength to pick the hip up on that side again. Feel the spine is aligned, pelvis level, and once again, rolling back down through the spine, all the way through to the mat. Breathing in, we reset the neutral. So how about we give it one more go, but we're going to lead with the left side this time. So keep lengthening into the crown of the head, your deep zipping up, your broad and wide scoop and hollow pelvic diamond. How about really squeezing that strength into the back of the waist, close to your sacrum, heels compress into the floor, and then you really get that strength back of waist, sides of waist, across at the front, lengthening your thighs away from the tailbone, tapering the ribs into the spine. So we breathe in here, and then as you're ready, exhalation, we're going to relax the core strength on the left side, hip sinks down. Then again, exhalation, regrouping the core strength on that side, really pull it in towards the spine. And then once again, exhalation, let the core strength relax on the right side. And then again, back of the waist squeezes in, side of the waist squeezes in, pelvic diamond works really hard both sides. Let your neck stay relaxed and released. Lengthen through the spine, pelvis level. And once again, that lengthening out all through the spine, right back down again, and resetting neutral spine. Good, well done. So that is really quite hard work, of course, through the core muscles, through the gluteal stabilizers, and through the inner thigh stabilizers. So I think we can build up quite a lot of strength in that exercise, and we can just give ourselves a little bit of a stretch at the end of it, and then letting go. So we've got the waist twist exercise to practice now in this little sequence of things where we're really working with how we balance and support the weight of the pelvis at the base of the spine and keep the strength going in the back of our waist when we're practicing the Pilates. With the waist twists exercise, so I'll just quickly preview it. We come up into a double knee float or double knee fold, and the arms be out to the side. And then it's again the same strength that we used in the Pilates twist, but we're only going to go part way. And we need to still keep control around the rib cage. Spine through the back of the rib cage still stays in contact with the mat. The neck should still be easy and free. We don't need to wriggle it around like that, but just to show you. And again, the arms, so we're not pushing or pressing into the floor for strength. The strength is in the body, not in the floor. And that's what was often not understood with Pilates or perhaps with a great many floor exercises, that people use the floor for the strength to pull up, to push away. But actually, you know, when we're moving around, we don't get strength from the floor. We get strength from out of the depth of our own bodies. And that's what we're trying to really cultivate and build consciously in the Pilates. And we don't always think about moving in that way when we're exercising, although we will do it unconsciously when we stand up and walk around. It's inevitable, we have to. Let's have a look at, again, setting up our neutral spine position. So our zipping up, tailbone to pubic bone, our pelvic diamond, so remembering 3 thick layers, transversus abdominis, internal obliques, external obliques, hollowing really firmly and through the center. Belt fastening, strong elasticated belt, squeezing us in, backside and front, squeezing the waist away from the belt. Tailbone directs to between the heels. Crest of the hip bone straight up, space at the back of the waist, space through the, spine through the back of the rib cage in contact with the mat. Breastbone lengthens away, spine beneath it, opens up towards the crown, fist distance between the chin and the chest, and the front of the chin level to the ceiling. So really feeling that as your core strength wraps around the spine, it absorbs the weight of the spine into the core, and that you're not too heavy as you rest on the floor. You're not releasing all your weight into the floor. The core strength is picking your body up, you know, and partially supporting its weight away from the floor. So we're just going to begin to work into a little heel raise and releasing. Again, a little heel raise and releasing. And it's often helpful as well here to think about a release through the inside hip, inside knee, heel, and returning. Inside hip, inside knee, heel, and returning. Pelvis should just be staying absolutely centered and level, and the spine staying in the neutral. And gradually, as you're ready with the exhalation, this initial action coming up into the stronger movement of the knee float or the knee fold, holding in the neutral. Flow the leg back, inside hip, inside knee, heel. So you're trying, as you do this flowing action, to pretty much keep the leg in the same shape all the way up, all the way down. And again, even though the weight of your leg is now rising, absorb the strength that you need into the core, into the broad and wide scoop and hollow, into the waist strength. Lower abdomen should be staying hollowed. The small of the back should be staying away from the mat. So then let's think about double knee float, which is where we need to get to for our waist twist. So breathing out, breastbone lengthens away from the face, ribs squeeze in, waist squeezes in, pelvic diamond, leg floats up, breathing in here. Back of the waist regroups very firmly into the back of the waist. Second leg floats up. In theory, we're still in neutral. Exhalation, let's lower that second leg, and then the first leg on the same exhalation. So if you find, so exhalation to knee float, if you find as you bring the leg up on the second side that it's hard to maintain neutral, fasten the belt very firmly into the back of the waist, keep the waist muscles pulling into the spine, depress the spine towards the floor, bring your second leg up, and then using your abdominal strength, adjust the lumbar spine and the pelvis back to the neutral spine position. So what can happen here is people just adjust the spine by moving the legs and tips the waist back towards neutral. There's not enough strength with that. You need to use the waist strength and lower abdominal strength to come back to that neutral position, and then lower and lower. Otherwise you won't have enough strength, definitely not, for the waist twist. With the waist twist, we really need to think about whether or not we've got enough strength to support it. So if you've already found the double knee float very challenging, stick with the double knee float practice for the time being, and then later when you've built up your strength, come into the waist twist practice. But we're going to, if we're ready to practice waist twist, set up our neutral spine, our deep scoop and hollow wrapping around at the waist, ribs taper into the spine, exhalation, knee float, breathing in exhalation, knee float. So adjusting the spine to neutral. Now here you can always squeeze the legs together, and in theory this gives us a bit more strength. Squeezing the legs together, come from the inner thigh rather than the groin at the hip joint. Come from the inner thigh. If you prefer, legs can still stay in line with the hip joints. So once again, as we're ready, we need to really activate that back of waist strength, lower abdominal strength to come into a little twist. Keeping the neck and the shoulders just as they were, absorb the strength that you need for the movement into your core. We breathe in here, and now coming back. So it's really similar to how we righted the pelvis in the bridge. So you come back of waist, scoop and hollow, really deep and strong, both sides evenly. Breathing in, and then once again, breathing out your left waist working to bring you into the waist twist. Again, letting the arms and the shoulders and the neck stay just as they were before, avoiding closing the angle at the front of the hip joint. Next exhalation, using your waist strength to steer the waist and the pelvis back to the center. Breathing in here. So now waist twist using the strength that we've been working with, and you can always, if it feels comfortable, head and neck pivot in the opposite direction, and the arm turns through to the floor. Once again, breathing in, breathing out, squeezing back to the center, head and neck pivot back with you. Breathing in here. So now really check as you're breathing out and coming into this waist twist that the base of the ribcage stays in place, breastbone lengthens away from the face, moves towards the spine, and the spine in the back of the ribcage is pulling towards the breastbone. We can spiral in the head and neck and shoulders opposite direction, breathing in and breathing out to squeeze back to the center all the way through. So let's give it another go to both sides. So once again, as you're ready, breathing out, head and neck, pivot in the opposite direction, lower spine is twisting towards the right again. Now this time on the inhalation, if you feel strong enough, you can breathe in and let your arms just drift up to above you parallel. And then breathing out, hold the control around the base of the ribs, the waist, and in the pelvic diamond. Breathing out back to the center. Breathing in, the arms come back down. Check that you're maintaining the right angle at the front of the hip joints. Broad and wide pelvic diamond. And once again, head and neck and shoulders are relaxed, initiating the twist towards the left in the waist and the lower spine. Head and neck pivot towards your right. Breathing in. As you're ready, if you're ready and strong enough, the arms drift up. So you know then that you're not using the arms to stabilize you on the floor. Once again, as you're ready, exhalation to pull back to the center. And this time, as we breathe in, we're just going to relax and let the legs come in and towards us and soften on the mat there. So 3 versions of waist twisting. Spiraling or rotational action through the lumbar spine, and also including the spine and the neck. So maybe we should just release the body a little bit more after those twists, and I think that a cat stretch would be a good idea. So we're just going to draw through towards the all fours. Once again, if you have a Pilates ball, I think it is actually really helpful just popping it into between the knees in the cat stretch. So we can initially get a nice long stretch through the spine, reaching the arms forwards in line with the shoulder joints. And how about a nice deep lift in the lower abdomen, navel pulling to the spine, the collarbones opening, shoulder blades wide and moving in the direction of the sitting bones. Just checking in, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level. Your neutral spine position. We're going to think about, again, that zipping up action between the tailbone and the pubic bone. The pelvic diamond action, so scoop and hollow really wide to begin to lift the pelvis and the sacrum upwards. Fastening the belt, put it in at the sides and across at the front, lift the navel to the spine. Squeeze the base of the rib cage in and hug the breastbone up towards your spine. Head and neck round forward. So we can breathe in here, can breathe back for a good stretch in the upper back. And then as you're ready, Directing the tailbone back and behind you again, pelvic diamond, back of your waist working, sides and front, lengthen forwards, collarbones open, shoulder blades wide, moving down the back. Let the breastbone keep lifting towards the spine, and let the breastbone at the same time lead forwards towards your chin. Shoulder blades compress against the back of the rib cage. And then again we breathe in there, breathing out your deep lift in the muscles directly in front of the tailbone. Broad and wide scoop and hollow, let your legs stay relaxed. Just use your thigh bones to help support the pelvis. Sides of the waist, navel pulls to the spine, taper the base of the rib cage into the spine, hug the breastbone to the spine, breathing in. And once again, as you're ready, tailbone moves back, supporting the pelvis with the pelvic diamond, waist works, breastbone leads forwards, keeps hugging towards the spine behind it. Shoulder blades move down the back and they compress against the rib cage. Breathing in, and then the last time rolling through the spine, just the way I've been describing. Use your core strength to support each vertebra as you go through. Breathing in. And then once again, as you're ready, just flowing through. Neutral spine, breastbone and spine hug together. Waist stays supported, not letting it dump down. Lead the breastbone towards the chin. Now from here, quite nice I think, as long as the neck stays soft, to lengthen back, holding the front of the spine nice and open, relaxing into the child. And the arms could always come alongside the legs. Now if it feels like too much pressure into the neck here, you can support the chest with something, your Pilates ball, or you could support it, with your blanket or cushion like that, and that will take some pressure off. If it still doesn't work, just stack the fists underneath the forehead. Now just spend a few moments here to allow your spine to relax, the back of the neck to relax, broaden out across the shoulders, across the rib cage, the waist and the hips, letting the little spinal processes in the back of the spine relax towards the tailbone. Breath needs to dive into the back of the chest. Just as you breathe out, allow the weight of the body to be really absorbed by the support of the mat beneath you. Just a couple of breaths more, relaxing. And then as you're ready, rolling up through the spine, restacking the spine back towards neutral spine ideally, back of hips, back of shoulders, back of head level, nice and upright, and just bring the weight away from the knees. So I hope that you've enjoyed that look at Pilates Waist Twists. Please write comments and let me know how you're getting on. If you find the video helpful, it's always really useful for me to know that. Thank you for subscribing if you've already subscribed, and please think about subscribing if you haven't subscribed. It helps you to know when I've uploaded a new video. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon on Movement Style.